Realities and Perceptions Part 2. This is my story, what is yours? Open for public comments and critics. Let us debate and not argue. Please like and subscribe, for by doing so, you are saying viva to the development of underground African writers movement. An analogy of an African child. The human brain is like a universe constituted of endless galaxies and Milky Ways, far beyond any particular institute of knowledge will ever comprehend, therefore it is very late to let it be weighed and be endorsed as genius or dumb by one, for that approval or disapproval would be according to their iota understanding of the subject, as it has always been the case through the history of this commercialized academia to misinterpret intellect with academia by judging the abilities of a fish and a cat on the same contesting ground, forgetting the uniqueness so incomparable that exists between them. Uniformity is one of the well-designed forms of manipulations imposed to humans, by commanding a million individuals into functioning as a single brain like zombies, and that is the work of art which both civilization and the system have mastered in millenniums of active or passive control to its subjects. Where when those in contrary motion to that normality are labeled rebels or lunatics and everyone who happens to be part of the multitudes agrees, unaware that one right will always be wrong in the presence of a billion wrongs. And this remains the fact that was long proven, yet the masses still fail to understand the difference between the truth and the fabricated one, from lies and the fabricated ones, allowing civilization and the system to thrive without being opposed intellectually. The power of governance which both civilization and system operates upon is very old and simple, yet hidden to the mind of the ordinary. It makes it seem its agenda is to serve and protect its subjects from the unknown, meanwhile its exact motive is to instill a psychological order that controls and exploits their livelihoods through implementing the fear factor of the unknown and playing a fake heroic stunt of being the ultimate saviors in return. These special operations are engraved to the subjects from their early stages of life through commercialized religions, universities, and media propaganda, which are said to be crucial into a development of a civilized human being that will be worthy and be prosperous in life, while in contrary they prepare one to abide by their rules for the easy governance over the subject, as they destroy the natural ingenuity of the brain. And to ascertain its sustenance of dominion it selects the well-brain damaged subjects as part of public official authorities and servants, and secludes the strong, firm and rebellious by stripping them the allowance of being, nullifying every word they utter or any step they take to change the stereotype the ordinary would not understand in his whole ignorant lifetime. Commercialized institutes including churches, schools, the media, and the political arena have been the lethal weapons utilized by the system to spread its propaganda throughout history, yet what astounds the most is that the ordinary and the fragile brain still cannot seem to understand at this age of a disposed information the differences between a reality and a perception, the truth from a lie, only just because their intellect is anti-clockwise and dysfunctional caused by their dependence to the mighty savior the CNS, while the wise and the secluded wonders, how could one be so educated and still be dependent, for knowledge should be freedom and if not then it is not. In other words, ordinary brains get an education to be employable in the CNS and not to access the knowledge required to progress the well-being of humanity, and this ongoing syndrome sickens the wise and the prudent even more, for it is clear that these institutes are not for educational purpose at all, but mere centers of thorough instructional agenda on how to be loyal subordinates, where the higher the education one attains, is as much as higher as the level of subordination to the master he qualifies. The role that an educated ordinary brain plays to please the master, is to recruit the ordinary masses into believing its worth to be a watchdog, as Negroes in the plantation would call it a house slave syndrome, that gives them a sense of fake comfortability and stability where it does not exist, for at the end of the day they report to the master, and never will one day wake up and make their own decisions for the rest of their lives, yet they pretend to be free when toasting cheap whiskeys and barbecuing second-grade steaks every day after a hard day's work, laboring for the master. Ordinary minds tend to ignore or misunderstand what freedom is, or perhaps were never designed to know it at all. And what proves this theory is the fact that they spend their lifetime battling within the hierarchy, hopping from degrees to PhDs. A job to a better one with a better position, and hoping that someday they would have a decent future for their families, like the first-class families. And the truth is that in spite of their high degrees and acknowledgement in academia, they remain slaves of the aristocrats for their financial dependence towards the master class, and that will not change because no one ever wins a battle by abiding by the rules of the enemy. Here again the theory is simple and straightforward: one who depends on Caesars, belongs to Caesar himself. The masterpiece of all the C&S's creation is the hierarchy, because of its ability to psychologically fragment and maintain social statuses that are subdivided among the ordinary, creating insubordination, envy and havoc, destroying their only chance of solidarity to teamwork against the master, as each wrestles with another for a better position at a workplace or at any given institute, physically, spiritually and psychologically, trying to impress the very creator of the ordeal in order to be granted a better position above his peers. And so the drill of ignorance goes on and on. And this drill of ignorance among the ordinary is a great victory and pleasure to the aristocrats, as they need not to physically be present any longer to protect their interests, because the intra-battle among the ordinaries in the hierarchy does the job perfectly without any need to being instructed, as the ordinaries spy, control, and give orders on each other and later report to the master on time, allowing the master to access any ill information against his interests and be able to plan in advance on how to handle confrontational situations against him right at their conception, and before they manifest into a rebellion he could not handle, making him a savior that is so genius to the public eye, when he appears on time to solve the petty squabbles of his subjects and salvage them from themselves. The ordinaries, or I may call the public at large, are made to believe that the world is constituted of three classes, which are as follow. First class, the aristocrats, the super-rich or non-working class. Second class, the slaves, the middle or working class peasants, the poor or non-working class. And to clarify this, I shall elaborate the true sense of these social classes in the next chapter. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, for by doing so you are saying viva to the development of underground African writers movement. See you in the next chapter.